Hello dear students, hope you all are fine. In the previous video we have talked about the first part of the chapter, the rat trap, and in this session we will continue with the second part of the chapter, the rat trap, written by Selma Lagerlöf. In the previous video we end up by saying that the iron master's daughter came to the mill and she introduced herself as Atla Wilmanson to the peddler, and she was sorry that thinking the peddler was the captain, and she was sorry that he was having such a hard time. And now we'll continue reading the next part of the chapter or the story. She looked at him compassionately with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something or else he has escaped from jail. She thought and added quickly, "You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve." Compassionately means showing sympathy for others. Here in this particular point, the author is saying that Atla had sympathy for the peddler, but then she noticed that the reason behind his fear could be that either he had committed robbery or jailbreak. So she said that he was free to leave their house at any time, but she wanted him to stay with the family just for Christmas Eve. She said this in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. "It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss," he said. "I will come at once." Here we understand that Atla was talking to peddler in a very nice way, which made him believe her, and he got ready to go with her. He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow, threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady out to the carriage, without granting the astonished blacksmith so much as a glance. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. Here, astonished means greatly surprised, and forebodings means foretelling. Here we can see that the peddler wore the fur coat offered by the valet and started following the lady, or Atla. He didn't even bother to notice the other people in the room or in the mill. On the way to the house, the peddler felt that as he had committed a crime, he would be punished for it. "Why the devil did I take the fellow's money?" he thought. "Now I'm sitting in the trap and will never get out of it." Here we can see that the rat trap seller or the peddler, he started cursing himself that if he had not stolen the money, he would not have got trapped like this. The money was a bait which had led him into a trap. The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. "First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones," he said to his daughter, who was busy at the table. Flesh on his bones, here it means that the sailor should eat good food to gain some flesh on his body. And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling the rat traps. Here the author is saying that the next day was Christmas Eve, and both the ironmaster and his daughter were at the dining table in the morning for breakfast. And the ironmaster said to his daughter that they had to do something good for the peddler, and they should try to find some better jobs for him. But first of all, the butler has to have some good food. It is queer means strange, that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that, said the daughter. Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The trammed manners will fall away from him with the trammed clothes. Here we can see that the ironmaster's daughter said that it was strange to see that the butler had been in such hard times, and was very doubtful whether the man had been educated. Hearing this, the ironmaster clarified that it was due to his bad condition. He also said and added that the man or the butler would behave differently after getting cleaned and dressed up. Just as he said this, the door opened and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good-looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and whole shoes. Here starch is the stuff that makes your shirt or a shirt collar look crisp and fresh, and whole shoes means proper fitted shoes. Here the author is saying that while both the father and daughter were discussing about the butler, the butler entered the room with the valet, and he was looking very clean as he had been bathed and his hair had been cut by the valet. And the butler, or he was wearing the ironmaster's clothes and shoes, a shirt with a starched collar and shoes which covered the entire feet. Let's continue reading the chapter. But although his guest was now so well groomed means ready, the ironmaster did not seem pleased. He looked at him with puckered brow. Pucker means wrinkled, and it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake. But that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. What does this mean? He thundered. Thundered means make a loud noise or shout. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. Dissimulate means pretend. He saw at once that the splendor means luxury, the splendor had come to an end. Here the author is saying that the ironmaster seemed very angry to see his well-groomed guest, as now he could make out his appearance well and realized that he was not his comrade. He understood that he mistook some stranger as his old friend. He screamed at him and asked him to explain. The butler knew that the ironmaster could make out that he was not his old friend. As he already knew this, he was ready for the consequences and felt that the luxurious treatment was about to end. "It is not my fault, sir," he said. "I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forts. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags again and go away." "Well," said the ironmaster, hesitating a little, "it was not quite honest either. You must admit that, and I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter." Here hesitating means to be reluctant, and sheriff means chief executive officers of crown. that is in England. Here we can see that the peddler tried to explain that he should not be blamed because he said that he was just begging for a stay in the forts, and he also said that he had not harmed anyone and was ready to wear his rags again and go away. To this, the Iron Master hesitated and said that the peddler had not been quite honest, and so he wanted to call the sheriff or the chief executive officer or the police. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. Fist means a person's hand bent. Now I'm going to tell you, Mr. Iron Master, how things are, he said. This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese, rinse, and bits of pork, set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Iron Master, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the trap. Here the author is saying that the rat trap seller gets so enraged upon hearing about the sheriff that he struck the table very hard with his fist. He said that this world is a rat trap, and all the good things are a bait, just like the rinse of cheese and the small pieces of pork are a bait for the rat which are offered to trap it. Not only this, he also pointed out to the Iron Master that he may today be imprisoned by the sheriff, but one day the Iron Master will also get trapped like this in the same manner. The Iron Master began to laugh. That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now get out of here as fast as you can. Here we can see that the Iron Master didn't like the peddler's words and decided not to call the sheriff, and he asked the peddler to leave at once as soon as possible he can. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. That morning she had felt so happy when she thought how homelike and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. Wretch means miserable person. She could not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond. Interceded means intervened. Now we see that the Iron Master's daughter stopped the peddler as he was trying to go from the house. She wanted to help the poor fellow or the peddler, and since morning she was planning how she could make the peddler's day happy on the occasions of Christmas. Therefore, she went against her father's will and stopped him by closing the door. I am thinking of this stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcomed and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here, just one in the whole year. The Iron Master mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, of course, she continued. But anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. Here it is clear that the Iron Master's daughter, she tried to explain the difficulties faced by the peddler, and she said that he didn't have any house. He was turned out from wherever he went, and he always kept on running indoor to safeguard himself from being arrested. She also said that she wanted him to enjoy Christmas with peace as they had promised him. They should not send away a man on Christmas, the man whom they had promised happiness on the day. The iron master was not able to find any answer to go against his daughter. "You do preach worse than a person," said the iron master. "I only hope you won't have to regret this." The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. "Now sit down and eat," she said, for she could see that her father had given in. Here preach means advice and parson means a churchman or a pastor or a father in the church. Here we can see that the only thing the iron master could say to his daughter was that she was trying good at convincing others, better than the priest at the church. But he also warned her that hopefully her decision would not bring any adverse effect on them. Then the girl took the peddler to the table and offered him food, as she saw that her father had consented to her wish. The man with the red traps said not a word. He only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could the crazy idea be? Here we see again that the peddler didn't say any word and started eating. He was doubtful. Though he was doubtful about her intentions and was wondering why she stopped him. After that, Christmas Eve at Ramsjo passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did nothing but sleep. The whole forenoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his share of the good Christmas fare. But after that he slept again. It seems as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly and safely as here at Ramsjo. Here the author is saying that the peddler went to sleep after having food, and he did not cause any harm to anyone, and he lay down on the sofa in the guest house. He was once woken up in the afternoon, but after having his lunch, he again went to sleep. It was like as if he had never got the chance to sleep so peacefully as he had got at this place at Ramsjo. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. But after that he disappeared again. 2 hours later he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas feast and porridge. Here we see that in the evening the family woke the peddler again as they had to light up the Christmas tree. He stood there, or the peddler stood there, blinking as if he was getting hurt by the bright light of the candles. He again went to sleep, and finally they called him again for the dinner of Christmas feast and porridge. Let's continue reading the story. As soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said, "Thank you and good night." But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit which he wore was to be a Christmas present. He did not have to return it. And if he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in a place where he could rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, he would be welcome back again. Here the author is saying, after the dinner was over, the peddler thanked everyone present there in the room, and the iron master's daughter said that the clothes which were given to him were a Christmas present from her father so he could carry them with him. She even invited the peddler to be with her family for the next Christmas Eve and promised that nothing bad would happen to him. The man with the rat traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. Boundless means limitless and amazement means wonder. The next morning, the Iron Master and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. Their guest was still asleep and they did not disturb him. Here we can see that the peddler did not have any answer for this and simply stared at the girl with wonder. And the next day, both the Iron Master and his daughter went for the Christmas service early in the morning. They didn't disturb their guest or the peddler as he was asleep or sleeping. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual. Dejected means sad or very sad. At church, she had learned that one of the old crofters of the iron works had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. Yes, that was a fine fellow who let into the house, said her father. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time. Now we can see that both Iron Master and his daughter had come to know that a rat trap seller had stolen money from the old crofter. They realized that he was the same man, or the peddler was the same man whom they had over as a guest, whom they had given shelter in their house. The Iron Master said that it was his daughter who insisted to give shelter to a thief and was wondering that how many silver spoons had been stolen by him by this time. The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the Iron Master asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at the church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Williamson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. It is very interesting to know that the Iron Master, on reaching home, inquired about the peddler from the valet. He also told him that he was a thief, as he got the information from the church. To his surprise, or to the surprise of the Iron Master, the valet told him that the peddler, instead of taking something, he had left a small Christmas gift for Miss Williamson. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done up that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay 3 wrinkled 10-kroner notes. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in large jagged characters. Honored and noble Miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return, as if I was a real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief. But you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Returned with friendship and high regard, Captain von Stele. Finally, we can see that the Iron Master's daughter opened the gift which was given by the peddler. It was so roughly packed that she could easily guess what was inside the pack. Apart from a rat trap and 3 kroner notes, there was a letter. The peddler had thanked his host who had taken care of him as if he was a real captain in the letter. In return, he gifted her a rat trap and also requested her to return the stolen money to the old man who lived on the roadside, and he said that it was she who let him free from the rat trap by raising his status from that of a mere peddler to that of a captain. At last, he undersigned his letter as Captain von Stelle. So dear students, we understood that the story tackles the theme of temptation, sin and reformation. Through the life of the peddler, the author highlights the lucrative baits that abound in this materialistic world around us and how with their glitter and scent they tempt us to a sinful life. Once a person succumbs before his weaknesses, he is trapped in the web of greed forever. Even though his conscience pricks him, he is unable to extricate himself and sinks deeper and deeper in these swarms of temptations. The story also deals with loneliness and the carving to bond with others. The economic divide between the haves and the have-nots has alienated the poor who are discarded by the society. But there is a ray of hope in the form of kind and gentle souls who with their love and care can make a difference in the lives of the deprived beings and reform them to lead a dignified life. Let me remind you once again, dear students, that the story The Rat Trap sends across a strong and powerful message that basic goodness in a human being can be awakened with unconditional love and understanding. Anybody can fall prey to the deadly sin of greed, but with kindness and understanding, we can lend a helping hand and help the particular person to reform his way of life. So dear students, that's all for today's class, and I hope you understood the chapter or the story The Rat Trap, and I hope you will always remain a good human being. Thank you.